Hey guys, this is Steve with TronicsFix, and today we're talking about the Nintendo Switch and why yours might not be turning on. So as you've probably guessed, there's more than one reason why your Switch might not be turning on. It could have a discharged battery, there could be something wrong on the motherboard, or the charge port could be bad, or even your charge cable could be bad. Those are just a few of the things that can cause it, and today we're going to focus on a faulty charge port and how to fix it. This Nintendo Switch does not turn on. I can press the button and just nothing happens. And on this particular one, it's because the charge port is faulty. If you look inside there, and I'll try and get you guys a close-up view in a minute. If you look down inside there, you'll see some of the little copper pins are all bent up inside, and that makes it so when you plug your cable in, connections are not made with the charge cable, and therefore it can't transfer power into the Switch. So unfortunately, the only way to fix that is to physically remove the charge port and put another charge port on. Now you do have to keep in mind this does require soldering skills, and it does require a hot air soldering station. So if you don't have those skills or the tools, you can always send it into TronicsFix for repair, or you can try some of your local repair shops. They may be able to fix it for you as well. So let's get this Switch torn apart, and then I'll take you to my repair desk and I'll show you how to install a new charge port. So there is our view of the faulty charge port. It looks like you can see in there how the pins are bent up inside there. So that is what's wrong with this one. So the first thing we're going to do is take this back case off. And to do that, we must remove the Phillips screws. We're going to start with removing the two screws down here, and then we'll go around the rest of the case and remove the Phillips. And then the back case is held on by a different kind of screw. It's kind of like a Y-shaped. And now that we have the motherboard removed, we can go over to my repair desk and get this charge port replaced. So there is the inside of the charge port as you saw earlier, and you can see it is soldered on. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to use some hot air to remove this, and then we're also going to use hot air to put the new one on. Let's get started. And here we have the Nintendo Switch motherboard on a repair bench. And this right here is the charge port. So this is what we'll be replacing right now. So I'm going to use a hot air soldering tool to remove this port. Then I will solder on the new charge port. You can see that the charge port has all these pins right here. They will need to be soldered to the correct pins on the other side of the motherboard. And I'll show you that as soon as the job is done. We'll turn it over and have a look at those pins and make sure they're soldered on correctly. So we're going to add a little bit of flux on each of these little connection points right here, and once again the flux is just there to help the solder flow nicely. That'll help us get this off quickly. So we're just going to come down here with a little bit of heat. Not too much heat, we don't want to cause the motherboard to bubble up or anything, but enough heat to melt the solder and remove the port. We're going to pay special attention to the back because we want to make sure that those connections on the back come off cleanly. And there we go. We have the old port removed. Now we'll get all this extra plastic pieces off here. So the next thing we need to do is flip the motherboard over, and we need to make sure that each of those pins has lots of solder on it, or enough solder on it. And these are the pins we're talking about right here. We need to make sure each of these pins have plenty of solder, and these pins look like they do, so nothing to worry about there. We're gonna flip it back over and install the new charge port onto the motherboard. We're gonna get this a little bit closer for you so you can see it a little bit closer up. And these are the pins I'm talking about right here. Now we have the new charge port right in our tweezers, and we are ready to heat the motherboard back up so we can put our new charge port in. Gonna pay attention to the back of the charge port area because we need to make sure the solder on those pins is melted very well so it'll stick to the new charge port when we put it in. It looks pretty good. You can see that the solder is shiny, which means that it is melted and ready to go in with our new port. And there we go. Now we need to flip it over and check the solder joints and make sure they're nice and tight and ready to go. And here we have the charge port under a higher magnification. We can see each of these little pins right here. These are the ones that we are making sure we're soldered on correctly. I'm just going to take my pick and just move each one just a little bit just to make sure it doesn't move. These shouldn't move at all if they are soldered on correctly, and they look like they all are. Now, one thing to keep in mind with these charge ports is, let me get this old charge port here. Make sure you guys can see. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind with these charge ports is there's two layers. There's one layer all the way back here, and then there's one layer on the front. So when we're looking at this motherboard, this is one of the layers we can see. The other layer is back under here. So that's why you can't really change these with just a soldering iron, and you actually need to use a hot air station to change these because there's no way to get a soldering iron back here to solder all the pins on that are back here. This charge port looks like it's in great shape. The pins are soldered on correctly and nice and tight, so it should be ready to go. So we're going to get the motherboard installed back on the switch, and then we'll test it out. So we have our charge port replaced, we've got the console all back together. It's time for the moment of truth. Will it charge? So we're gonna plug in our charge port, and then we gotta wait. We'll probably have to wait just a little bit because this console is completely dead and it's been like that for who knows how long. So we'll have to wait a few minutes before it'll come up on the screen. And actually it looks like it just came up right now. So you can see up in the corner, it does have the charge light and the battery indicator showing it's red. So it just needs to charge up for a little bit and then the screen will turn on and we can actually use it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video on how to replace the charge port for your Nintendo Switch. Please let me know in the comment section if there's any other videos you want to see. Leave any comments or questions. I'll be hanging out for a bit after this video goes live so I can answer questions in the comment section. Give it a thumbs up if you like it and consider subscribing if you like this type of video, as I've got lots more coming up. Thanks again for watching and have a great day.